Welcome, curious minds, to another deep dive. We're exploring topics that help us understand, well, the world and maybe ourselves a bit better, too.
Definitely.
Today, we're tackling something really crucial, especially for parents, educators, anyone working with kids, really. It's understanding behavior. We've got some fantastic source material here, specifically excerpts from Chapter 2, Verbal Behavior Approach. It really lays out the basics of applied behavior analysis, or ABA.
Yeah, and what's great about this chapter, I think, is how it takes what can seem like, pretty complex behavioral science,
Right.
and breaks it down, makes it really practical, gives actionable steps for dealing with challenging behaviors.
So our mission today.
Well, let's pull out the most important bits.
Yeah.
Clarify the key terms.
Yeah.
Make sure we're all speaking the same language, so to speak, and really show how these principles work in real life, hopefully providing some of those aha moments.
Love those. Okay, let's jump in. So the material starts with the scenario, a very relatable one, I think. A child named Johnny.
Right, Johnny.
He's 3, diagnosed with autism and struggling. Problem behaviors like biting, throwing tantrums.
Yeah, and his parents are understandably really frustrated.
And as the chapter points out, so is Johnny. He doesn't have the language to say what he needs or wants.
Exactly. And parents often try the usual things, right? Timeouts, maybe yelling, bribing.
The go-to toolkit.
Yeah, but often find they just don't work. Or sometimes they even make things worse.
So why is that? Why do these common approaches sometimes fall flat?
Well, this is where the core insight comes in. And it sounds simple, but it's profound. Behavior is communication.
Okay.
Every single thing a child does, whether we see it as good or bad, is telling us something. Parents often react to the hitting, the screaming.
Sure, that's what you see first.
But the real power, the foundational idea here, comes from figuring out the why. Once you understand the language of that behavior, you can actually start to decrease the problem behaviors and increase the positive ones.
So it's like decoding a message.
Precisely. It's all about figuring out what the child is trying to tell you. That's really the essence of ABA in this context.
Okay, so how do we start decoding? What does this mean practically?
Well, the chapter gives us a really clear framework. It's the ABCs of applied behavior analysis.
The ABCs, foundational stuff for anyone in ABA, but let's break it down quickly.
Good idea. So every behavior, positive or negative, fits into this 3-part model. A, B, C.
A is for
Antecedent, A. That's what happens just before the behavior. Think of it as the trigger or the prompt, what set the stage.
Okay.
Behavior, B. That's the action itself, what the child actually does immediately after the antecedent.
And C.
Consequence, C.
Yeah.
This is what happens immediately after the behavior. And this one is super important.
Why is that?
Because the consequence often determines whether that behavior is going to happen again. It's basically the outcome, the lesson learned from the child's perspective.
Okay, let's make this concrete. Back to Johnny.
Right.
The example is, you ask Johnny to hang up his coat. That's the A, the antecedent.
He then throws himself on the floor, flails around. That's the B, the behavior.
The tantrum.
And the consequence, the C, is you put him in timeout and maybe feeling frustrated or rushed, you hang up the coat yourself.
Okay. So what did Johnny learn there?
Well, the chapter points out he learned that tantruming got him out of hanging up the coat.
Exactly. He escaped the task. So the behavior, the tantrum, was actually reinforced, even though the parent might have thought the timeout was a punishment.
Ah, okay. So the escape was the reinforcer.
Precisely. And this whole sequence, ABC, is called a 3-term contingency.
Yeah.
And it's not just for problem behaviors. It happens constantly.
Like how? Give me another example.
Sure. If I say, hello, what's your name? That's A.
Antecedent.
You say, Matthew, that's B.
Behavior.
And I say, nice to meet you. That's C.
The consequence. Positive social interaction.
Right. That positive consequence makes you more likely to answer when someone asks your name next time. But think about a negative example from the source. Parent says, do the puzzle A.
Okay, a demand. Child screams. Falls on the floor, B.
The escape attempt.
Parent says, oh, okay, I guess you're not in the mood, and takes the puzzle away, C.
Ah. So the consequence is withdrawing the demand.
Yep, and that teaches the child, very effectively, that screaming makes the unpleasant task go away. This is how problem behaviors can actually get worse without us even realizing we're reinforcing them. Our reaction is key.
Okay, this is starting to click. The ABCs give us the what happened, but you said the real power is in the why.
Exactly. This is where it gets really interesting, like you said. Understanding the function of the behavior.
Function. Meaning what the child is trying to get or get away from.
Precisely. Before you can intervene effectively, you absolutely must figure out the function. Why? Because, as the chapter stresses, a blanket strategy won't work.
So you can't just have one plan for biting.
Nope. If a child bites sometimes to get your attention, and other times bites to get out of doing homework, treating both instances the same way, like just saying no biting or using a timeout, probably won't work for both. It might even backfire for one of them.
Because the underlying reason, the why, is different.
Exactly. It's like trying to fix a leaky faucet and a clogged drain with the same wrench. You need the right tool for the job, and knowing the function tells you which tool to use.
That makes a lot of sense. So what are the main functions the chapter identifies?
It breaks it down to 3 main categories. Really helps simplify things.
Okay, what's the first one?
First, to get something. This could be attention, or it could be access to things they want, like toys, food, activities.
Tangibles.
Right. The chapter calls this socially mediated positive reinforcement. Socially mediated just means it involves another person giving them something. Positive reinforcement means something is added that makes the behavior more likely.
Like the kid hitting you when you're on the phone to get your attention.
Perfect example. Or screaming in the store for candy, hoping you'll give them the candy. They want to gain something through their behavior.
Okay, getting something. What's number 2?
Number 2 is basically the opposite. To get out of something.
Escape.
Exactly. This is called socially mediated negative reinforcement. Again, socially mediated means another person is involved, but this time they remove something. Negative reinforcement means something unpleasant is taken away, which makes the behavior more likely.
Like escaping the task of hanging up the coat.
Precisely.
Yeah.
Or having a tantrum when asked to do flashcards or clean their room. They want a demand or an undesired activity removed. They successfully avoid it.
Got it. Gain something or escape something. What's the third function? You said this one's a bit different.
Yeah, the third one is sensory stimulation. The chapter calls this automatic reinforcement.
Automatic.
Meaning the reinforcement comes directly from the behavior itself, not from another person's reaction or from escaping something. The behavior feels good or provides some kind of internal sensation the person is seeking.
So this can happen even if no one else is around.
It can, or even if people are around but not engaging the child. Think about things like repetitive rocking, maybe humming, head banging, flapping hands.
Okay. Things that might look like self-soothing or self-stimulation.
Right. The reinforcement is automatic, built into the action itself. It doesn't depend on you giving them candy or taking away homework.
So 3 functions. Get attention stuff, get out of demands, get sensory input. How on earth do you figure out which one it is for a specific behavior? That seems like the tricky part.
It is the detective work. But the chapter gives a clear, step-by-step process collecting ABC data.
Back to the ABCs.
Yep. First, you pick 1 or 2 behaviors you really want to work on. The chapter suggests starting with the most severe ones, maybe those causing injury or major disruption.
Okay, focus on the biggest problems first.
Then, you need a baseline. Just observe for a few days, maybe 2 or 3, and count how many times the behavior happens before you change anything.
Get a starting number.
Exactly. Then, you start meticulously recording the ABCs for every time the behavior happens. There's usually a simple chart, like the example in Table 2.1 in the source.
And you mentioned specificity is key here.
Absolutely crucial. Don't just write, had a tantrum.
Be specific.
Describe exactly what happened. Bit arm. Threw self on ground, screamed for 2 minutes, kicked the table. Define it clearly beforehand. What counts as a kick? What counts as screaming?
Why is that so important? Seems like a lot of detail when you're already stressed.
Several reasons. 1, accuracy. Everyone watching knows exactly what to count. 2, measuring progress. How do you know if tantrum is getting better? But if throw self on floor and screams for 3 minutes becomes throw self on floor for 30 seconds, that's measurable progress.
Okay. Makes sense.
And most importantly, the detail helps you see the patterns. You know the setting, the activity, who was there, antecedent, the exact behavior, and exactly what you did immediately after. Consequence, even if you think it was the wrong thing.
So you're logging your own reaction too.
Definitely. Because your reaction is the consequence that might be maintaining the behavior. After a few days of this detailed data, the patterns usually jump out. You'll see, every time I ask him to do homework, he throws his book. And when I say, okay, take a break, he stops.
Function. Escape.
Bingo. Or every time I get on the phone, she starts whining. And when I look at her and say, just a minute, she quiets down briefly.
Function. Attention.
You got it. The data reveals the why. Oh, and chapter also wisely notes, if a severe behavior pops up suddenly, rule out medical issues first. Pain or discomfort can absolutely trigger behavior changes. See a doctor.
Good point. Okay, so you've collected data, identified the function. Now what? You said the strategy depends on the function, not the behavior itself.
Correct. This is a huge insight. If Johnny screams, bites, and kicks all to get attention, you use one strategy designed for attention-seeking behavior for all three. If he whines and throws things to escape chores, you use one escape strategy for both. It simplifies things immensely.
Okay, how? What's the general approach?
The chapter proposes a two-pronged approach for each function. Prong 1 is prevention and replacement. Prong 2 is what to do when the behavior occurs.
2 prongs. And the main goal?
The main goal, ideally, is to spend like 95% of your time on preventing the behavior. If you're seeing a lot of problem behavior, the chapter's core idea is simple. The demands are probably too high for the child right now, and/or the reinforcement is too low.
So adjust the environment and expectations first. Set them up for success.
Exactly. Start where they're happy, demands are low, reinforcement is high, and then gradual build from there.
Okay, let's break down the strategies for each function, starting with function 1. Attention or access to tangibles. What's the two-pronged approach?
Okay, for prevention replacement, you proactively give lots of positive attention before they act out. Catch them being good. And if they often tantrum for a specific item, like the source's example of candy at the store, give them a lollipop on the way in. Meet the need before the tantrum starts. You're giving it on your terms, proactively.
Preempting the behavior. Smart. What about replacement?
You teach them better ways to ask. Instead of hitting or whining for attention, teach them to tap your arm gently, or use a sign, or say, "Excuse me." Instead of screaming for a toy, teach them to point or use a word or sign for it. Give them a functional way to communicate.
Okay, that's prevention and replacement. What about prong 2? What do you do when the attention-seeking or access-seeking behavior does happen? They still tantrum for the candy?
Right. So if it's for something they are allowed to have, the chapter recommends the count and man procedure.
Count and man.
Yeah. You don't give in during the tantrum. You wait for them to be calm and quiet for just a few seconds, say 5 seconds. Then you prompt them to ask appropriately, say candy, or prompt the sign. As soon as they make an attempt, you give it to them.
So they learn that calm asking gets the reward, not the tantrum.
Exactly. It directly teaches the replacement skill. The chapter advises against long timeouts for kids with developmental delays here because they might not connect the timeout to the behavior. Count and man is more direct teaching.
Okay, but what if they're tantruming for something they absolutely cannot have? Like the source mentions, wanting to go outside barefoot in winter.
Yeah, good question. If it's something they can't have, the strategy's different. First, calmly offer an acceptable alternative. We can't go outside barefoot, but we can play with your blocks inside. If the tantrum continues, the best approach is often planned ignoring walk away or withdraw attention. No negotiating or bribing during the tantrum. If it escalates, wait for that 5 seconds of quiet, then redirect them to something else enjoyable. Avoid giving any reinforcement, even negative attention like scolding, to the tantrum itself.
That sounds tough, but necessary. Okay, function 2. Escape-related behaviors. How do we prevent those?
Prevention replacement here is about making the work less aversive. Lower the demands significantly at first. If they hate the work table, make it fun. Bring preferred toys or even the TV there initially. Pair the task or area with lots of reinforcement.
Make it a place they want to be.
Right. And then slip in tiny demands. Don't ask for the whole puzzle, just one piece. Don't ask them to clean their whole room. Just put one toy away. Keep demands small enough that they don't trigger the urge to escape.
Baby steps and the replacement behavior.
Teach them acceptable ways to ask for a break or for help or to say they're all done. Give them a functional way to communicate needing relief instead of tantruming.
Makes sense. So prong 2, what happens when they do have an escape tantrum after you give a direction? Do you let them off the hook?
Absolutely not. The key here, according to the source, is you keep the demand on. Don't let the tantrum succeed in escaping the task.
How do you do that?
If it's safe and possible, you might physically prompt them to complete the task, gently guide their hand to put the toy away, or help them wave high. You follow through. Afterwards, you do that Monday morning quarterback analysis the chapter talks about.
Reflecting on what happened.
Yeah. Ask yourself, why did that happen? Was the demand too big? Was the reinforcement too low? How can I prevent it next time? That reflection is critical.
What if physical prompting isn't safe, if the child is big or gets aggressive?
In that case, the advice is usually to block access to any other reinforcement, turn off the TV, remove toys, and calmly, neutrally repeat the demand periodically until you get compliance. even if it's just a small step towards compliance. And transitions, like turning off the TV to go do work, often trigger both escape and access issues. So preparation is key there. Give warnings and bring reinforcement to the next activity.
Okay, final function, sensory-seeking behaviors. What's the two-pronged approach when the reinforcement is automatic?
For prevention replacement, the goal is creating an enriched environment. Lots of engaging activities, lots of sensory toys available, trampolines, swings, fidgets, squishy balls, maybe music or visual stimuli they like. Keep them busy and provide appropriate sensory input.
So they don't need to seek it through problem behaviors.
Right. And provide socially acceptable replacement behaviors that give similar sensory input. If they rock their body, maybe offer a rocking chair. If they like smearing, maybe offer finger painting or Play-Doh. Match the sensory need appropriately.
And what do you do when the sensory behavior does occur?
It depends. For mild stuff, like maybe some quiet rocking or humming that isn't harmful or disruptive, the best strategy might just be to ignore it. Or wait for a brief pause in the behavior, then immediately redirect them to an engaging activity.
Okay. But what about more severe things, like headbanging?
For major behaviors that could cause injury, you have to intervene to ensure safety. That might mean blocking the behavior physically, using hands, or maybe protective gear like a helmet in severe cases. But the chapter strongly emphasizes for any serious self-injurious behavior.
Get professional help.
Yes. Consult a board-certified behavior analyst, a BCBA. They have the expertise to assess and design safe, effective interventions, especially if you're considering any kind of protective device.
Okay, that covers the core strategies. What are some other key takeaways from this chapter?
A huge one is consistency. Once you figure out the function and have a plan, everyone involved with the child, parents, teachers, therapists, grandparents, babysitters needs to implement it exactly the same way.
Everyone on the same page.
Absolutely. The chapter suggests role-playing the scenarios to make sure everyone knows what to do. Inconsistency completely undermines the plan and confuses the child.
That makes sense. What else? Anything people should brace themselves for when starting?
Yes. Something really important to expect, especially if the problem behavior has been working for the child for a long time. When you first start the plan and stop reinforcing the old behavior, you might actually see an increase in the behavior temporarily. It might get worse before it gets better.
Really? Why?
It's often called an extinction burst. The child is basically trying harder, thinking, hey, this used to work. Maybe I just need to scream louder or tantrum longer.
Like pushing a button harder when it doesn't work the first time.
Exactly. It can be discouraging, but it's often a sign the plan is starting to work because the child realizes the old way isn't getting them what they want anymore. The chapter stresses staying with the child during this phase to ensure safety, as behaviors might intensify or even change form.
Good warning.
Yeah.
So stick with it.
Stick with it, but keep monitoring. That leads to the final call to action from the chapter.
Which is?
Start now. Pick one or two behaviors. Collect that ABC data. Determine the function. Try the two-pronged strategies we discussed. And keep tracking the behavior rate.
Use the data.
Let the data be your guide. If the behavior decreases after that potential initial spike, fantastic, you're on the right track. If it stays the same or keeps increasing, reevaluate the plan. Are you sure about the function? Is everyone being consistent? Or, and this is important, seek professional help from a BCBA, especially for severe or aggressive behaviors. Don't go it alone if you're struggling or dealing with dangerous behaviors.
This has been incredibly insightful. It really shows that understanding behavior isn't just guesswork. It's systematic.
It's a science, yeah. The ABCs and understanding function give you this powerful lens to decode what a child is communicating, not just reacting to what they're doing.
And the bigger picture here.
It's about empowerment, especially for kids who struggle with verbal language. It's giving them effective ways to communicate their needs, which opens the door to learning, to connection, to a happier, more functional life. It unlocks potential.
So, thinking about our listeners,
Yeah.
what does this all mean for you? Beyond maybe helping a specific child, how could these ideas, the ABCs, thinking about function, apply more broadly?
That's a great question. Think about any persistent pattern of behavior you see, maybe even in adults, maybe even in yourself. How might someone be communicating through their actions? What antecedents trigger it? And crucially, what consequences might be, maybe unintentionally, keeping that pattern going?
That really broadens the lens.
So here's a thought to chew on. We live in a world where we often react instinctively, immediately, to behavior that bothers us or that we don't understand.
Sure, it's human nature.
But what if, just for a moment, We consistently paused. What if we tried to analyze the function first? Before reacting, ask, why might they be doing this? What are they trying to get or get away from? How might that simple pause, that shift in perspective, change our responses? Could it lead to more intentional, more effective, maybe even more compassionate outcomes in all kinds of interactions? Something to think about.
Definitely something to think about. That wraps up another deep dive, this time into the language of behavior through the lens of ABA. We really hope this gave you some clear, practical strategies.
Yeah, I hope it was helpful. Thanks for joining us.
Until our next deep dive, keep questioning, keep learning, and keep applying that knowledge.